mobile phone. Why should he?
Welcome along to the football show. It is Thursday night. Nathan with you in studio. Dan McDonnell is here as well. How are you?
Hi Nathan, how are you?
You've got the permanent look of a man who's like, God, I wish I could have just sat down and watched Manchester City Spurs with a nice glass of wine, feet up, relaxed, enjoying life, instead of FAI.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got a bit of it in here last night, but I did do this thing where I'm sure a lot of people did this. You know where you sometimes miss the first 10, 15 minutes of a match in your grand. So I'd sort of wandered. I was in the Indo office and was just working in a quiet place. Oh, the game started and walked down. I was like 2-2. 15 minutes into the game, I was like, is this a mistake? Is this actually an hour into the match? I was like, has time passed during this phone call to the extent that we missed an entire game?
Where was I meant to be?
I didn't think it was that long a phone call.
I was playing five-a-side, so I recorded it till afterwards, till 10 o'clock, so I missed the entire match. So I was avoiding my phone, and I made the terrible mistake. I just flicked on my phone and I saw a message from our colleague Tommy Rooney just going, what a game.
Yeah.
And I threw it away into the corner and said,
that's what you don't want.
anything, at least it wasn't, that late goal.
Yeah, that's what you could do without, like, to be honest, you know. But yeah, it is true like that now. Even if you turn on to, say, social media and stuff, you're trying to, but like, a lot of people just say, wow, amazing. Not that many actually do the score. It's more just general, so you can probably get away with it a small bit.
Well, it's like the little Periscope link that pops up on my phone every time the football show is on, which you should obviously have, so you're fully aware when myself and Dan are here.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might go, classic at Anfield.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this yet.
Yeah, no, see, but you can get away with it. People don't type full score updates. So you probably could have winged it for a while.
You could just guess as to what's happening.
Yeah.
It was pretty incredible what did happen.
Yeah.
VAR, yay, nay?
I'm still a fan of VAR. I still stick with it. I'm still backing it. I mean, the right decisions were made last night. Ultimately, in the end, like the most unsatisfactory VAR one was the PSG penalty incident against Manchester United, because it was so slowed down than how many penalties are going to be given. And I can see that point, but I don't see how you apply nuance to this in such a way that I think it's either have it or you don't. I don't know how you apply terms and conditions to the use of it. I think that just
that's what I was wondering last night.
That leaves yourself open
with the with the pass from was it Bernardo Silva to
the Eriksen mistake.
The Eriksen mistake, because when I initially looked at it, I thought no, they should give the goal because it's a deflection.
Yeah,
it's a very thin line. Even still, when I watch it back, between that being a deflection and a pass, it's a deflection that he intentionally tries to get to Aguero.
Yeah, like that's it. Because if you see a shot deflected, you know, because that's it. I mean, if there's a 30-yard shot and it deflects off someone on the way through to a player in the onside position or an offside position, like you try and read the significance of the touch along the way, and you slow everything down with VAR, and you're like, yeah, well, did Silva know what he was doing? Did he know that this was a pass? You know, and like we're probably talking garbage about the rules here, really. But if you slow it down enough, you can convince yourself any angle, any argument is correct. You can make the point either way. But I still think the good outweighs the bad.
Absolutely.
But there's issues around the delays, and well, my only problem with VAR, really, to be honest, and this isn't it's not really in the context of the Champions League quarterfinals, it's not particularly relevant. But if you're getting justice at some parts of the game, then you need to get it everywhere, you know, like in the FA Cup earlier this year, you had this madness where VAR exists in certain rounds or certain games and not others, which to me, like if you were, I can think of Ollie Byrne back in Shells back in the day, you know, he would have found a legal reason to somehow object to this if they were a club that lost out and there was no VAR, another team did, you know, that seems wrong. And like if you're going to bring it into the game, then I think the authorities need to start paying for the installation of the requisite facilities everywhere, because I don't think you can just have at the top level a penalty corrected and a wrong sorted out, but at the other end of the game, you know, at a lower level in Ireland or whatever it might be, a team loses out on a European place because the same rules don't apply to them.
Well, you think when it comes in the Premier League, so all the clubs and all the stadiums will get it, but will it be there for the Championship? Will it be there for the playoffs? It might be there for the playoff semi-finals and finals, but will it be there for that final minute goal in a regular season game that gets somebody into the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem. And so that's not really a topical complaint, but that's my broader issue. But I'm probably still up for it as a general rule.
There's Europa League quarter-final second legs taking place. Chelsea were cruising against Slavia Prague, but Slavia Prague have scored twice in the space of a couple of minutes. So it's now 4-3 to Chelsea on the night and 5-3 on aggregate. So maybe, just maybe, Slavia Prague can pull off one of the all-time great comebacks. A couple of goals for Pedro, one for Olivier Giroud, and an own goal had Chelsea leading 4-1 after just 27 minutes. But it's back to 4-3, 5-3 on aggregate. Arsenal putting together another good performance. Alexandre Lacazette has given them a 1-0 lead away at Napoli, so they need 3-0 on aggregate. Valencia heading to the semi-finals, 2-0 up against Villarreal on the night and leading 5-1 on aggregate. And Eintracht Frankfurt 1-0 up against Benfica, but 4-3 down on aggregate. Around half an hour left in all those games. Kenny Cunningham is on the line. Evening, Kenny.
Evening, lads.
So what did you make of it last night? Was it outstanding attacking play or poor defending that made Spurs City such an enthralling watch?
No, it was a good watch. Don't get me wrong, 20 minutes obviously it was pretty manic stuff, and there was some quality attacking football. It's questionable defending clearly, otherwise you don't end up with a 4-3 scoreline, but still quite enthralling to watch right up to obviously the last kick of the game.
Sorry, we got distracted there. He just suddenly appeared in the studio right in front of us.
Kenny, how do you think the Spurs players are feeling in the... I just addressed JP there because he was there for a minute.
This is just a shambolic 2 minutes of radio. Kenny, we apologise. We apologise profusely.
There was a studio intruder there, Kenny, we were thrown. We've seen the video of Pochettino coming into the dressing room afterwards, and he's like completely overjoyed and like punching the tactic board with happiness. But is there any way that the Spurs players are thinking we've just completely got away with this? Because you see the pictures of them on the ground after the goal was conceded, and it was almost like, here we go again, Spurs. We've done it again. So what do you think their mentality would be afterwards, Kenny?
Well, I could understand the elation. Yeah, it's just kind of the extremes in emotion, like you've mentioned. Eriksen in particular was the one I really felt for. He was the one who gave the ball away cheaply in the lead up to the goal, which was the Sterling goal that was disallowed. Took too many touches, gave it away in his own half. They broke, and seconds later the ball was in the net. I know that feeling myself. When you make that kind of mistake, you get that sickly feeling in your stomach. This was magnified 10 times because it was a quarter final of a Champions League. So I was thinking Eriksen in particular, when the ball hit the back of the net, I thought, there's no coming back from this. You're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. And you're making that type of error, and as good a footballer as he is, just picking the wrong option at a crucial time in the game. So him in particular for me probably epitomised the kind of total turnaround in emotions. Low as 1 second, and then obviously the goal being looked at in VAR, and obviously the decision being rescinded. So I think how he was feeling was obviously amplified. It was a ripple effect throughout the whole squad, and I think just to get the better match, to find themselves in the Champions League semi-final. There's a lot of criticism of this Spurs team. I'm a huge fan of the Spurs team and have been for quite some time, and Pochettino, and a lot of talk around Pochettino until he wins a trophy. We can't really... I don't really buy into that whatsoever. I think what he's done at Tottenham is absolutely phenomenal, regardless of whether he wins a trophy or not. But I think underneath all of that, I think Pochettino is desperate to win a trophy, not just a trophy, one of the big ones, League or Champions League. I think that's what drives him, lads. I think he's gone on record as saying that. Look, I am targeting the league and the Champions League. Yes, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, whatever, Carabao Cup. Yeah, absolutely, a trophy's a trophy, but we're targeting the big trophies. So to have that kind of wrenched away in the final seconds at the Etihad would have been tough to take, as they were very much in the game. So yeah, just that elation, you could see amongst all the fans. Pochettino in particular, that's as animated as I've seen him after the game. I didn't see those pictures in the dressing room. I just saw him on the touchline and coming onto the pitch. All of that kind of pent up emotion came out, and it was understandable.
From Manchester City's point of view, and the mistakes made, in particular by Aymeric Laporte at the start of the game, which resulted in the 2 goals, were they just completely out of character? Because I think if people are picking PFA team of the season, he's probably getting in there at centre back alongside Virgil van Dijk. In general, he seems to have been pretty exceptional. Those mistakes last night, were they just something that happened during a game, or have you seen signs where he's maybe susceptible in real high intensity 100-mile-an-hour games?
No, I think he's been by far their most accomplished defender all season. I think the problem with the Manchester City defensive line predominantly is the position alongside him. Guardiola seems to have lost a bit of confidence in John Stones, certainly second half of the season. Vincent Kompany is exceptional player as he has been. His best days are behind him. Not as mobile as he was, and Spurs kind of exploited that to an extent last night as well. Nicolas Otamendi, kind of game player, but I wouldn't trust him either. So that's the problem Manchester City have. You could argue their full-back areas as well. Big question marks over Mendy from the manager himself in terms of the mentality of the player. And Kyle Walker is as good as he is in some respects in possession of the ball and very productive in the opposition half the pitch. He's always been a player who you never felt as if he took as much kind of pride in his defending as he does in his attacking play. And his positional sense has always been questioned even before he went to Manchester City. So those small little things invariably bubble to the surface at some point, and I think that has been the case with Manchester City. He hasn't quite rectified that, Guardiola. All the money that's been spent over the past couple of years, you still suspect any team which can get enough possession of the ball or can counter-attack effectively at that Manchester City defensive line. And it's not really the defensive line of the majority of the time because they send their full-back so high up the pitch, invariably it's the two centre-halves. You can get some joy against that Manchester City defensive line, and Spurs, without actually playing at their best last night, lads, I thought some of the Spurs individual performances were under par. The likes of kind of Trippier had a tough time first half. Danny Rose, I thought a reasonably poor game. Dele Alli was off the pace of the game, particularly when he went back into central midfield. So this wasn't a Spurs team playing at their best for me, but they've done enough to manufacture enough opportunities and score 3 goals. So that's the worry for Guardiola. I think he's got to rectify that in the summer. We're going to see this young lad, De Ligt, play for Ajax in the semi-final over 2 legs against Tottenham Hotspur. For me, this is a player Manchester City have to go and get now to play alongside Laporte, because Laporte's there for the long term. He's a good defender. He has a physical presence. He's athletic. Good on the football. Good switch of play. Good technical play. Yes, made a couple of mistakes last night, but that hasn't been the case all season. I think, like I said, he's been their most accomplished centre half. He just needs somebody of his calibre to play alongside him, and they're going to have to go hunting as a transfer market to find that. If the manager lost a bit of confidence, particularly in John Stones, who looked as if he was the potential partner going forward for Laporte.
By the sounds of it, then, they may actually have to be quite busy in the transfer market, because you look at last night and you do wonder as well whether that would have happened if Fernandinho was playing, in the protection he might have been able to give the back four. And Fernandinho's 33 at this stage. It doesn't seem as though they have a like-for-like replacement. Is that an area as well, that centre midfield where Gundogan played last night, very different type of footballer to Fernandinho, where they need some sort of backup?
Yeah, I think so. I think this will really hurt Guardiola. No matter what he comes out publicly and says, that result last night could almost be a little bit of a watershed in terms of, I've spoken about kind of the centre halves, even Mendy at left back. Fernandinho, you're absolutely correct. A couple of players who can play in there. You could argue even Kevin De Bruyne playing in that holding midfield position is good enough to do it in possession of football, getting on the ball and getting Manchester City up the pitch. But of course the defensive side of his game wouldn't be the strongest. Gundogan as well, he was probably a little bit more efficient defensively than De Bruyne, but certainly hasn't got the presence of Fernandinho on that holding midfield position. So you're absolutely right. He could go and spend big in terms of centre half holding midfield, and even that left back position in the summer, and that would be big money. But I think it's something which he has to do, because generally speaking, football at the very highest level, any of those kind of small frailties, even in a team as good as Manchester City, you do get found out, and it's in those areas of the pitch that we're speaking about that ultimately have cost Manchester City on occasion on the very big stage. You look at Liverpool, for example, and I look at the setup of their team, the defensive setup of their team. I don't see those weaknesses. And it's why I've always felt Liverpool have the edge over Manchester City in the league for quite some time now. Just that kind of defensive resilience across the defensive line, the protection they get in those central midfield areas. For me, Liverpool are a team who can sit in and soak up pressure and probably defend better in 1v1 situations as well than that kind of Manchester City defensive lineup. So, yeah, it'll be intriguing to see how Guardiola sees it, and also between now and the end of the season, that championship runoff plays out between Manchester City and Liverpool, and see who falters, and whichever team does, what are the reasons why they do falter. Because Manchester City lose out again, I think it'll be for the same reasons that we're talking about, why they've missed out in the semi-final for the Champions League as well.
Graham Hunter was interesting this morning on O2BAM talking about Guardiola. He said, I know from certain information I'm given from people around him that he's very, very, very tired right now. He's exhausted. That there's been a toll of the constant pressure. I'm not talking about above all else, but it's the pressure he puts on himself. And maybe there's a time to come down the track where, you know, he moves on because of just the sheer intensity that he works under. Do you get a sense from him on the sidelines that almost maybe he's overthinking it with Manchester City when you look at the team he selected in the first leg against Spurs, leaving Kevin De Bruyne on the bench, that maybe he just needs to somehow try and relax a little bit?
I don't think he's necessarily overthinking it. He could question his decision making. I'm not quite sure that's the same thing as overthinking it. There's an argument there for Kevin De Bruyne in terms of his injury record this season. Nathan, the length of time that he's been out in terms of maybe managing his time since his comeback between now and the end of the season. He got big games every week coming up, so I can understand that to a point. But for me, the game at Tottenham, the first leg, was absolutely key for me for Manchester City. And if you had to drop Kevin De Bruyne out and save him, for me, that wasn't the game to do it. Because when I saw that Manchester City team for the first leg, I just felt, now this is Spurs' opportunity. I expected them to go and win and keep the clean sheet as well and prevent Manchester City getting the away goal. For me, made Spurs favourites to go through over the two legs going into that second leg last night. That put huge pressure on Manchester City last night. I know the away goal was wiped out after the first kind of 5 goals of the evening, but I think they missed the trick in that first leg. Manchester City were nowhere near their best, and I think the absence of De Bruyne and even Sané last night when they lost the goal, it took him a long time to make that substitution to get Sané on the pitch. So I wouldn't say maybe overthinking it, Nathan. I just think maybe his actual decision making at times, and it's an easy criticism to make. I know, bigger picture, all the games they have coming up, managing players, rotating players, keeping everybody fresh, etc., etc. But not quite sure he got the balance exactly right in his certainly in the starting lineup for the first game of Tottenham.
Just to look ahead to the weekend, we have a double header here live and off the ball on Sunday. Everton against Manchester United at Goodison, and then Cardiff against Liverpool. 4 matches left for Liverpool. Is this straightforward, a victory at Cardiff with all their struggles at the moment under Neil Warnock, or with 4 games left, pressure on, the buzz of the Champions League? Is there a risk here for Liverpool?
I don't think so, no. I really don't. I mean, I'm going to stick with Liverpool. I think they're going to win it. I can't see him. I could see him winning every game. If I look at the games, the Newcastle game, maybe up at St James. I mean, they're safe now. Newcastle, we can get a bit of madness up there at St James Park. Extraordinary things can happen there at times. So maybe you look at that game. Cardiff, people say off the back of the Bruyne, obviously momentum, belief. It'll be a raucous atmosphere down there in Cardiff. But Cardiff have problems defensively across the defensive line. I think there's weaknesses there. And no better team than this Liverpool team to exploit it.
So where is City going to drop points?
Well, I think the next week, I think it'll be Tottenham and Manchester United coming up. I think I'd say drop points. I mean, they could draw one of those games, and that could be it. That could well be it. You could very well see Manchester City drawing one of those next couple of games against Tottenham and Manchester United. And that could well be it, because I can see Liverpool winning every game. Now, you could argue Man City out of the Champions League, Liverpool still have that commitment going forward. Barcelona, extra toll on Liverpool, and I think that's a fair argument. You could argue the pendulum has swung towards Manchester City in some respects, but I'm not too sure. I think Liverpool are just kind of relentless at the moment. I don't think that Champions League semi-final necessarily will be an obstacle to them. Might even help them in some respects in terms of real momentum, belief, and that just kind of appetite to go and win every game, and that bit of a sense that this, it's all happening. It's going to be your year. I mean, Manchester City might be feeling the opposite off the back of last night, thinking, it's all coming apart here. A little bit of insecurity, a little bit of doubt maybe creeping into their minds in the last couple of games of the season. I mean, it's you could call it both ways. I understand most people are leaning towards Manchester City and have been for quite some time, but for me, I've just felt for a while it could be Liverpool. It really could be their year. So it'll be fascinating. But it's key for me. Manchester City's next 2 games, if they don't get back on top of the table after those next 2 games at Spurs and Manchester United, I don't think they're going to get back there. I think it'll be Liverpool's title.
Yeah, I mean, it's striking, Kenny. You do mention that you're almost talking as though there's a sense of momentum and almost belief and destiny behind the Liverpool thing, the run that they've on. But I suppose the flip side of that is, I mean, they have left it late in certain games. I mean, is there any fear they could be caught out? Or do you just believe, have you been involved in a team situation where you just have that inner belief that you will get through? No matter, maybe not at the winning a Premier League.
Not at that level, as you obviously know, Dan.
I wasn't trying to taunt you there, Kenny. Maybe a promotion charge or something. But
battle for 12th, Kenny.
You know that sense that even if you maybe haven't been playing amazingly well, that you just have that belief that you can, you just have that strength to get through it, no matter what.
You're right, and it's not about there's not Liverpool are keeping a clean sheet, win week out. They haven't been doing it, but the fact that they have been getting those late goals, games been getting away from them, and suddenly they've been able to find an answer, find the goal in the closing stages of the game. Now, you could argue there, well, they shouldn't be leaving it late. They should be dominating those games. They haven't kept another clean sheet, but that's not the feeling which you leave the game with. The fact is, you've won late, and again, there's that growing feeling. Listen, lads, we can't do anything wrong. It's happening for us. There's something happening here. You can almost sense it. That feeling inside the dressing room, that kind of destiny. That's probably it. And you've mentioned it there. We're going to win, no matter how we do it. 2, 3, 4 goals clean sheet, dig one out. Grind one out. It doesn't really matter. You just sense that must be a bit of a feeling around Anfield at the moment. Look at that Manchester City, the dejection of those Manchester City players and supporters last night. Not easy for Manchester City to pick themselves up now. You might think, well, that's they concentrate on the league, all eggs in one basket now, but that was a devastating blow for those Manchester City players last night. Knowing it was Ajax facing the semi-final, not a guaranteed the final place, I understand that, but an easier route into the final. To have that kind of snatched away in the final moments, that won't be easy. Won't be easy to pick yourself up from that collectively as a group and go again at Spurs at the weekend and get the win that you obviously need.
Kenny, great stuff. Thanks for taking the call.
Nice one, chaps. Take care.
See you, Kenny.
So all night we've been giving you the chance to be in the running to win a trip to the Rugby World Cup 2019 in Japan. We've already given you the first 2 questions. Here is the third and final question. How many Heineken Champions Cups has Brian O'Driscoll won? You should have all 3 answers now, so send them in to us on 53106 for 30 cent. Stick your name in there as well, and remember, you have to be over 18 to enter. It's all with thanks to Heineken, worldwide partner to Rugby World Cup 2019 in Japan.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by the new and improved Boyle Sports Bet Builder. Now with 44 markets to choose from on every match.
Down to business.
This Easter Saturday, I speak to Frankie Sheehan about finding inspiration in the face of darkness. I get to drive a red Ferrari that's green out in the wilds of Wicklow, plus why Dr. Bronner's soap is probably the world's most ethical product you can buy.
Down to business.
With Electric Ireland.
For all the business, from the boardroom to the factory floor and everywhere in between, with me, Bobby Kerr, this Saturday from 10.
On News Talk.
The Audi Approved Plus used car sales event is now on. Discover your premium used Audi today with a 12-month warranty and exclusive 3.9% APR, available only at your local authorised Audi dealer. It doesn't have to be new to be everything you've dreamed of. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement and subject to lending criteria. Deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. Volkswagen Bank GmbH Branch Ireland is authorised by the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Visit audi.ie/used cars. Visit Audi Centre, Bracken Road, Sandyford today to avail of our exclusive offers and test drive your future Audi.
Seconds of the perfect family day out was brought to you by Aquazone at the Sport Ireland National Sports Campus, Blanchardstown. Come and enjoy tropical wildwater fun on our mega slides, flow rider surfing and pirate ship for your little ones, as well as our great new restaurant. Aquazone, open daily this Easter break and every weekend. Book now at aquazone.ie.
Join the crazy carnival fun this Easter Monday here at the ILAC Centre. Play our fairground games between 12 and 3. And watch out for the Easter Bunny who might have something to give away. We're chock full of Easter treats and surprises. You'll be glad you rediscovered the ILAC.
There's nothing more annoying, nothing, than clicking start on a load of washing and then 2 minutes later you spot some manky socks on the floor. Well, it'll annoy you no more, because at appliancesdelivered.ie we stock the Samsung Add Wash range, which lets you add stuff in during the wash through a cute little door, saving you putting on another load. Can you believe it? Go online and check it out, and remember, with Appliances Delivered, there's free delivery on all Samsung appliances. Shop the Add Wash range and get a free 5-year warranty. Terms and conditions apply.
Start your story at Woodie's. Hop to it with great Easter deals, like 3 for 2 on all Dulux interior paint. Karcher K4 pressure washer, €249, save €100. And 42cm Prolon petrol mower, just €199. Woodie's, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Life is for living, so embrace that Irish spirit of adventure. At FBD, we're here to protect you. If you have a home policy with us, we'll give you a 10% discount on your car insurance. For a quote, call 017 617 617 or visit fbd.ie. FBD Insurance. Protection. It's in our nature. 10% car discount available with an existing FBD home policy. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited Trading as FBD Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. Latest in the Europa League. I might turn on my microphone at some stage this evening if I could find it.
Still 4-3 in Chelsea.
I keep turning it
Chelsea 4, Slavia Prague 3. They've slowed down. They've stopped scoring goals.
They're just trying to create a little bit of excitement for the old Europa.
Yeah, they're just like the Europa League needs this. Although Chelsea did I saw
drama in Frankfurt.
Go on.
Drama in Frankfurt. Eintracht Frankfurt has just gone 2-0 up against Benfica. 4-4 on aggregate.
So that on away goals, Frankfurt are going through.
So the winners of that would play the winners of the Chelsea game. Chelsea 5-3 up in aggregate, 4-3 on the night. The other semi-final is going to be Arsenal against Valencia. Arsenal 1-0 up on the night. Alexandre Lacazette with the goal in Naples. So a 1-0 lead against Napoli, and Valencia 2-0 up in their derby against Villarreal. So that should be an interesting, because Valencia have been on a ridiculous run of form over the past few months. And a very good week for Arsenal in the end, away from home, where their struggles have been away from home all season. A win at Watford, not massively deserved, but they got their win, and now winning at Napoli as well, and they're into the semi-finals. Could have an all-English Europa League final.
Yeah, an all-London Europa League final. Yeah, I'm not sure what's on.
Baku.
Baku. I want to go to Baku, actually.
Well, now's your chance. Arsenal, Chelsea.
If we had a bloody couple of Irish players at Arsenal or Chelsea, it would have been great back in the day with the Arsenal contingent, but not so much now.
So you're not up for a trip to Baku?
I mean,
I said it'll be ready for the Arsenal and Chelsea supporters.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be like Kazakhstan. Like, I don't know. Do they have the same rules in terms of like temperance? You know,
alcohol. Really?
I'm not sure now. Kazakhstan, it was more that it wasn't really readily available, but there was no like restrictions. But it's just a slightly, you know, it's not quite your typical city for a European final. You know what I mean, in terms of the big squares and the congregation points like you would have in other places, you know, where those clubs would have played in European finals in the past. I could be doing a massive disservice. As I said, I haven't been there.
Possibly.
Could be the party capital of Europe.
Google it. So, matters closer to home. What's going on with the Europa League spot for next season? Waterford United qualified for the Europa League, but St. Patrick's Athletic are objecting to this.
Yeah, it's for this summer. Like, this is all, I mean, this isn't related really to what's going on in the bigger picture, but at the same time, like, it sort of is, in the sense that in the backdrop of, I suppose, a change of leadership at the top of Irish football, it's funny that during this time, there's like issues are coming up. Now, what's happened here, as I said, is that Waterford qualified for the Europa League. They're due to participate in the Europa League this coming summer. They will have budgeted for participation in the Europa League this summer. That's worth a lot of money in the League of Ireland. It's worth a minimum, I think, of €240,000 to compete in the Europa League. St. Pat's finished one place outside the European places last year, and it's basically emerged that over the past couple of months, they have been making plans and doing work in the background with a view to being ready to get a UEFA licence, which you need to play in Europe, because they were working off the understanding that Waterford may not meet the criteria, and they obviously had been armed with information that Waterford may not meet the criteria.
So what's the issue?
The reason is that UEFA have a rule to do with clubs that are fewer than 3 years old, less than 3 years old. So Waterford, people are like, well, Waterford, hang on, Waterford have been around, for ages, but it was Waterford United until 2016, late 2016, at which point the new owner, Lee Power, took control of the club. There was a rename to Waterford FC and a new trading company that assumed control of affairs of Waterford football, and that trading company is less than 3 years old. So they would have to require a dispensation to compete in European football. The new Derry City had this problem in the past when Derry City basically folded due to issues, and a new company came in, and they weren't allowed to participate in Europe because they still had some creditors outstanding from the old company. It's not just enough to give it to a new company if you've left debts at the old company. What Waterford's issue is that they effectively seem to be under the impression they had satisfactorily dealt with all debts. And
they got a League of Ireland licence.
They had a League of Ireland, exactly.
And is that not
you need to satisfy creditors? Yeah. Now, I mean, I can't really go in. You can't necessarily delve into this with detail by just picking out stories that may be doing the rounds, but certainly there seems to be an issue maybe surrounding a creditor, and whatever arrangement was in place may not be enough to satisfy the UEFA criteria, even if there was an agreement in place that was enough to get a League of Ireland licence, it would appear. That I think that's probably the way to phrase it. And from a position where FAI officials were speaking on the record about not saying Waterford will have a licence, but suggesting there's no reason why they wouldn't. It seems like they would be fine to go through the process. We now appear to be at a point where Waterford have been told, strongly indicated to Waterford, that they're not going to be participating in Europe, and there's massive implications. Lee Power is propping up the club and is known to be very unhappy and is seeking advice about this, and the danger is that he gets disillusioned with Irish football completely, and Waterford are left with substantial problems, which is a shame because that club has really got its act together over the last 3 years.
So you're looking at a minimum of almost $250,000 for whichever team does get the spot in the...
It's big, yeah, and the argument is, well...
Waterford, your understanding is that Waterford have budgeted for this season on the understanding that they will be getting that $250,000.
My understanding, of the licensing procedure is that if a club goes in at the start of the season, they would, and they have to get their budgets and all that sanctioned by independent licensing, that they would include for the minimum amount of money you receive in Europe. You can't put in obviously for winning a round, but you could put in for participating. And this is the thing in the League of Ireland now, the European money has become so important. So Pat's actually invested heavily over the winter with a view to breaking back into the top four this year, having missed out last year, which was a massive blow for Gareth Kelleher. And obviously there would be an argument, well, have Pats acted in the spirit of the game here? What is this the right thing for them to do? But it is, and I appreciate that's going to be thrown at them, but it is UEFA who decide.
Well, I was going to ask, who makes the final decision on this?
UEFA do.
So is the UEFA licensing procedure totally separate to... Have the FAI any role within this?
Well, you see, the FAI do put... The FAI is still an intermediary between the clubs and UEFA, and the FAI put clubs forward for a licence, but it is still UEFA. They have to meet UEFA criteria. I'm not going to pretend to be a massive expert on the whole nuances of the licensing system, because this is maybe a bit hard to explain. Like Sporting Fingal were a completely brand new club that didn't have a predecessor, and they got into Europe after less than 3 years. But again, the issue was they didn't have any previous history. Whereas I think the problem for Waterford is, while they are a new trading company, they still identify with the club's past. They play in the same
run away from your
ground.
debts, basically.
Yeah, but the feeling was that Lee Power really had come in and had been lauded for not doing that he'd satisfied that. But clearly, there's some issue here that we don't quite maybe fully know about or can fully outline what it might be. But it appears that UEFA have given strong reason for Waterford and by extension the FAI and Pats to believe that it will be Pats getting the place. So,
and do UEFA have a cut-off point, because presumably time is of the essence, both for Waterford and St. Pat's?
Yeah, I think actually it's towards the end of May where these things are actually confirmed. But obviously, I think you have to, you can't just apply overnight. You have to prepare in advance, and as I said, Pats have been making inroads to this over a period of time. It just so happens that this week it's come out publicly. And it does. The broader point here, of course, is that it's we are heading into a new era. It feels, and part of that will involve clubs maybe having a greater say in the running of the league and governing the league, and that is something that has been discussed. And obviously, issues like this highlight the need perhaps for like a central authority, you know what I mean, in some degree, that the power structure and how that's going to be thrashed out going forward is going to be pretty substantial work, because it's very much clear that it's going to be different to how things operated before within the FAI.
Any developments in the FAI today?
No, I mean we're it's not going to be quick now. You know, I don't believe it's going to be quick now, and all the soundings are that if people think the story will naturally die down to a degree in terms of shocking revelations every day. I don't think it could ever go at the pace that it was. But I mean, there are reviews ongoing that will lead to conclusions. But how soon that these conclusions will be reached, it's hard to. People want a deadline. I mean, we look for deadline. Media look for deadline. Everyone wants to know, well, when will all of these issues be resolved? But I don't think you can make any firm pronouncement beyond the fact that the next AGM is in July. There's going to be an EGM before then, I believe. But I mean, at least
is that
worst case scenario is July.
Process? Well, I was going to. So we're actually on our Saturday panel this week. We're going to be talking about the future of football in Ireland, heading into the next sort of 5 years, because of the Director of Corporate Enforcement being in the FAI, and everything we hear is that that's a couple of years at least, the way these sort of investigations going.
In our paper today,
is it very hard to make definite decisions, particularly if board members want to go for re-election at an EGM and at an AGM in July? Is it very hard to get a clear sight of who stands where, who's implicated in what, who knows what, while there is still these investigations going?
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard subject to make predictions about. But in terms of like a firm bottom line conclusion, it is possible. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in this. I mean, this is outside the normal realm for maybe what we might cover in terms of having a full awareness of how ODCE processes play out. But if you listen to people who are very aware of that, as you say, and they say it ain't going to be swift. What we do know is like the Mazars review, was certainly the other day trying to get a real handle on how quickly that might play out. And I mean, that ranges from 6 to 8 weeks to longer. Now, 6 to 8 weeks brings you into June, doesn't it? Really.
And that's for
maybe it's underway already.
An interim report within 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, and there's a possibility, you know, it might be dealt with in stages and in phases, and maybe it might. So maybe there might be enough information in early parts of that would lead to conclusions in some areas. It's possible.
Who's running the FAI right now?
Who's running the FAI right now? Well, I mean, I suppose Ray Walsh is the interim CEO, and there's a board there. There's a remaining board there. So there's 8 people left on the board, and they are the main decision makers. And there's a CEO who isn't interim CEO, who isn't on the board, but is still the interim CEO. So I think this will play itself out over time. There was a suggestion today that there would be confirmation on this governance review group that will form.
We were due to get the final name. So Ray Walsh and
Niamh Donoghue from the FAI, and then there's an independent representative.
And Sport Ireland,
and Sport Ireland, just they haven't come forward with theirs yet, and it may not. So that was meant to be today, it just hasn't happened today for whatever. I don't think there's anything to be alarmed about in that. It seems like there's a lot going on and a lot to resolve. So unfortunately, it's going to be one of those topics now and again. It's like, well, what's going on with that? And some days there will be news, and some days there will be not. But I think in July is as far as it can go in terms of this uncertainty. But it's possible it could go all the way to July.
We've live rugby on Saturday, so we're not going to be here for our usual 3 to 5 chit chat with yourself and Johnny Ward.
No.
Luckily for John Caulfield, I suspect.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got another game to play first, but then a Waterford tomorrow. Yeah. Also,
is he under pressure?
I think he probably is getting into that territory.
There was the footage of him clashing with one of his own players.
Gary Buckley was a bit of a row, I think, after. I mean, again, these things happen, but I suppose when it happens on the sideline, there's more of an issue made of it. But yeah, there's probably going to be a very strange vibe around that Waterford-Cork game, because obviously Cork have their own thing going on, and then Waterford have this uncertainty really around their future. If their owner is very unhappy. So that's probably, Derry play Rovers tomorrow, that's the TV game, and there's the top two, but in terms of the broader Irish football picture at the moment, Waterford-Cork is possibly where maybe a certain amount of eyes might be centred.
For the good of the league, do Derry need to get something from that game?
Possibly so. I mean, the good thing, the Easter, but there's a round of games.
Giving Shamrock Rovers the trophy tomorrow night? I'm just not quite sure from what Johnny was saying.
Johnny has made his decision.
I think there's an Easter Sunday open top parade around Tala.
Johnny's very certain, with complete certainty has made that prediction. I don't know how it'll be changed if Rovers' next 3 games are Derry, Bows next Tuesday, Easter Tuesday. It should be very good up in Tala, and then Dundalk on the Friday. So it's actually a massive week of games, and this is the point. I'm making the point in the piece even tomorrow that it's actually, there's a great time of the season, and yet actually all the games and stuff has become a complete. The League of Ireland struggles as it is for oxygen, but in the context of the Irish football space and the Irish football story, this is big stuff that's going on. So almost to talk about the business of games, it's a novelty to be talking about when that's actually should be the norm.
Just on Baku. A couple of years ago, the government in Azerbaijan tightened the laws around the sale of alcohol, but they had to do a U-turn in the face of public protest.
Well, there you go.
So therefore, don't worry, Chelsea and Arsenal fans, you will get a drink, and it looks as though they're both heading to the semi-finals anyways. Chelsea 5-3 up in aggregate, Arsenal 3-0 up against Napoli, both those games in injury time. We'll run you through the full times next.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Over 2 centuries, one family business in Dublin has earned a name for excellence in funeral care. Every day they continue to work hard to retain that good name. The name is Fannigan's. Dubliners trust Fannigan's to take care of them on their final journey with empathy, compassion and dignity. And Fannigan's never forget whose journey it is. In over 200 years, some things don't change. Fannigan's. When your thoughts are with them, ours are with you. The Fannigan Group includes Carnegie's, Kirwins and Nichols.
The Audi Approved Plus used car sales event is now on. Discover your premium used Audi today with a 12-month warranty and exclusive 3.9% APR, available only at your local authorised Audi dealer. It doesn't have to be new to be everything you've dreamed of. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement and subject to lending criteria. Deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. Volkswagen Bank GmbH Branch Ireland is authorised by the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Visit audi.ie/used cars.
Discover Dyson at Harvey Norman with the brand new Dyson V11 Absolute Vacuum Cleaner with twice the suction of any other cord-free vacuum at the cleaning head. With a new LCD screen, you can see the selected power mode and remaining runtime, making cleaning your home a breeze. It intelligently optimizes power and runtime to deep clean carpets and hard floors. Try it out for yourself with our Dyson experts in store this weekend. Available now at Harvey Norman, in store or online.
Go! What is it about the Plaza Group that makes it different from other motorway services? Is it the spacious, relaxing atmosphere, the genuine, warm welcome, or the amazing choice of Supermax, Papa John's Pizza, Super Subs, Max Deli, Bewley's Coffee, and Spar? Whatever it's about time you found out for yourself. Make your journey that little bit easier. The Plaza Group, a new era in motorway services. Open on the M7 Moneygall, M6 Loughrea, Tipperary Town, Mallow, and Charlestown, County Mayo.
Your to-do list. It's always pretty chock-a-block. There's the things from yesterday you never got to yesterday, and the things for today you'll probably put off till tomorrow. But don't put off saving up to €647. Go direct to Energia and switch to Ireland's cheapest dual fuel bundle. For the biggest savings, the thing to do is to always go direct. Visit energia.ie. Energia, the power behind your savings. EAB €1,470 based on average annual usage. 12-month contract, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax, T's and C's and early termination fee apply. Valid from March 2019 and subject to change. Verification and T's and C's at energia.ie/EAB.
If you want to have a say in the way our country goes, make sure you're registered to vote. It only takes a minute at checktheregister.ie. So it's as quick and easy as beans on toast. Registration closes on May 7th. So check the register today to have your say. From the Referendum Commission.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
A little bit of pressure.
Chelsea are under pressure, Dan. I can't believe it.
Well, oh yeah,
Chelsea are under pressure.
We're talking about Shelburne. They haven't necessarily had a great start to their first division season when they would have been expected
with all that
to
money.
storm up. Well, yeah, they've had a bit of money, but they would dispute the extent to which they have a lot of money.
You going to Bowes tomorrow night?
Possibly down to Bowes and UCD if it's plausible to do that.
Typical Dublin-based media.
I haven't.
You wouldn't go all the way to Derry, would you? No.
We actually have someone up in Derry, so it's okay.
That's all right.
So we have that.
It'll be covered.
We have that covered. Yeah, I would like to go to Derry, but anyway.
Earlier, Dan, we asked you these 3 questions. Who's just ahead of Brian O'Driscoll in the list of most capped international rugby players?
I haven't a clue.
Richie McCaw. How many times was Brian O'Driscoll named Player of the Six Nations?
4.
3. How many Heineken Champions Cups has Brian won?
Heineken Champion. 2.
3. Bloody hell. That's why you're not allowed on air with him. Be embarrassed.
Probably just as well.
Disgraceful.
Nothing in common.
Congratulations to Michael O'Donoghue in Kerry, Gary Brady in Blackrock, and Jim Moore in Dundrum, definite pattern there, who've all won a green ticket to come along to our special event on May 9th in Dublin, where one lucky person is going to win a trip to Japan. It's all with thanks to Heineken, worldwide partner to Rugby World Cup 2019. OTBAM live tomorrow on all our social channels from 7:45 as usual. Tomorrow night, I wouldn't bet on it, tomorrow night on Good Friday, Johnny Ward will be in studio alongside Barry Geraghty on Friday Night Racing. Barry coming in despite recently undergoing surgery on his broken leg. We'll play you some of Off the Ball's highlights of the year so far. Chelsea and Arsenal both through to the Europa League semi-finals. Richie will run you through all that next. Tom Dunn is on the way. Good luck.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
Hey, Alexia, where can I take the kids during the Easter holidays?
Tato Park, Ireland's most exhilarating day out, is now open.
Ooh, what can we do there?
With over 100 attractions, Tato Park offers a huge variety of things to see and do for all ages, including the Rotator.
What's that?
The Rotator is a